Hey everyone, so this is Miss Nelson, and today we are going to take a regular flat shape of a circle and make it into a form, or make it look like a form that is a 3D ball looking thing on the paper by shading. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera over so you can see what I'm drawing. You will need a piece of paper, it doesn't matter if it has lines or not, and just a regular pencil that's sharpened, but it doesn't have to be super sharp. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is that you should also get something round that you can trace. So I'm just going to use a roll of tape, but you can use a small plate, the bottom of or the top of a clean mug, anything that's round and not too big, okay? So you're just gonna put it on the paper and then you're gonna go ahead and trace it. And what you wanna do is you take the pencil and you put it as close as you can to the edge as you go around, okay? Sometimes I have to lift my pencil and go again, so you wanna make sure to hold it down with your other hand. Okay, so once it's traced, you've got a circle. Now, the trick is to imagine that there is a light source hitting our circle. So again, we're going to make this circle, which is a 2D shape, look like a sphere, which is a 3D form. Okay? So to do that, we're giving you this shading, and like I said, you have to imagine that there's a light source hitting it. So, and you don't have to draw this, but I'm just going to do a quick little, like, here's my light source. Okay, so I'm just going to imagine that a lantern is hitting the ball. Now, if there's light hitting it, there's going to be an area right here where it's completely light. There's going to be an area down here where it's dark. And there's going to be a shadow. So I'm going to draw a shadow underneath the ball here. Okay. Notice that it's kind of a stretched out, flattened oval that goes to the side. Okay. So I'm going to go from light to dark, and then there's going to be just a little bit of light down here that reflects. Okay, so what you do is you just start up here and very lightly make an oval on the side of the ball here. Very lightly, okay? You can barely see it because I'm not pressing hard. Now I'm just going to go in. I'm going to use a technique called scumbling, and if you've practiced shading with me before, you know that to scumble you just go in little circles. So to make a light area, the circles are going to be kind of big. And I'm just going in a circle. Let me zoom in here so that you can really see what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm just going in a little circle. I try to change up the direction so it doesn't look too much on purpose. Okay, and I'm going to make that light shading around that oval that I drew. Okay, now I want to blend this a little bit more, so I'm going to do a really light little layer inside here, just to blend it a little bit more. I noticed it's a little dark right here, so I'm just going to erase that spot just a little bit. Just try to get rid of any spots that are too dark. There we go. Now I'm just going to go a little bit closer with my circles. And I'm going to go out like this. So I'm going to go from white to light to medium light. Okay. So I'm just going to do another layer of scumbling. I'm pressing just a little bit harder, and my circles are just a little closer together. going to go up and all the way around here. I like to try to make it so there aren't really defined lines because I want it to be a smooth blend. By the way, notice I'm not going in with my finger and smudging the heck out of this thing because we don't need to do that when we're drawing with pencil. It's okay to have pencil lines that show. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to imagine if the light is hitting the surface, it's like an oval right here. It's hitting a round surface. So there's going to be some swooping up here where it's dark. Okay? And I'm just going to go a little bit darker on my next layer. Now at this point my pencil isn't quite as sharp, which is nice because as I go darker I can actually lean the pencil to one side and get that nice thick smooth line, and scumbling becomes a lot easier here. So I'm just going in, I'm just pressing a little bit harder. It's kind of hard to see because the light's hitting right where I'm coloring or shading. That's okay. Trying to keep things blended and nice. But again, I'm not using my finger to blend the pencil down because that just puts a lot of finger oil on the paper, and over time it can destroy the paper. Also, the more you blend with your finger, the more likely you are to either wear a hole in the paper or actually give yourself a bit of a friction burn on your finger. You don't want that. So now I'm doing another layer and I'm going still darker. Okay, I'm overlapping my circles more to get them darker. Pressing just a little bit harder, but you don't want to press so hard that you break your pencil or, you know, make big lines in the paper. Okay, so again, it's hard to see here in the middle because the light's hitting the paper, but you just want to go a little bit darker. And we're going around in a big swoop. We're still repeating that same shape, just all the way around, getting darker and darker. All right, so I'm going to take this and zoom it out a little bit so you can see kind of what's going on here. I'm lifting it so you can kind of see. Okay, so I'm going to keep going darker and darker. And yeah, I'm going to let you watch the whole thing. I know this might be a little bit boring to watch me shade, but it doesn't hurt. So I noticed as I was drawing right here that my pencil was like carving into the paper and making these really dark lines. So I realized that I was actually coloring with the little point there. So I'm going to turn my pencil so I stop doing that. And I'm going to keep on keeping on here. So I'm just overlapping those circles. You can also do it by going really tiny with the circles, which makes it darker too. But I'm trying to do this somewhat quickly so that you don't get completely bored out of your mind watching it. Notice that this is me going quickly. So if you take less time than this, you probably rush through it too much. And you want to be a little bit more careful to try to do a nice job, even when you're just practicing like this. The harder you try to do a nice job, the more you're going to learn. And the thing is, don't get angry at yourself if you're practicing and it doesn't look absolutely gorgeous. Because that's the other point of practicing, is that it takes time. It takes practice, you know? And as you're growing up, the more you practice drawing and making art now, the better you'll be when you get older. So don't be discouraged. Just keep trying. I had a weird thing happen to me. When I was in 7th grade, I wanted to be able to serve a volleyball overhand, and I couldn't. And I learned all of the moves, I kept trying, and I just couldn't do it. And then in 8th grade, first day of practice, walked up to the line, picked up a volleyball, and boom, just pounded it over the net. So something happened as I was growing where all of a sudden I had the, I guess, the right abilities to be able to do it all of a sudden. But because I had tried so hard before, even though I couldn't do it, I just kept trying. When my body was ready, when I was strong and taller and more coordinated, all of a sudden I could do it. But if I had given up, I never would have been able to. So it's the same thing with all kinds of things. So notice that I've been going darker and darker. Okay, so I went from very light to very dark, and I'm still going in this shape, this round shape, as if you're following the contours of a ball. Okay, now as I get to the end here, I'm going as dark as my pencil will let me, again, without ruining the paper. Okay, and I'm going to leave just a little sliver of light down here at the very bottom. Just a little teeny sliver of light. What that's going to do is show that the light is hitting up here, but at some point it bounces off of other surfaces. And since the ball is round, it's round behind too. It's picking up a little bit of the light on the very bottom. It also helps because then you can see where the ball ends and where the shadow begins, which we'll get to in a minute. So again, I'm just overlapping my circles a lot, changing up the direction of my circles sometimes. Okay, just filling that in. Going really fast here so that you guys don't get completely bored, because I know you're anxious to get started on your own. There's a spot where it got really dark. I can't really fix that. It just is what it is. Okay. And just filling in the white, so there's no white. I changed the direction of my pencil because the one side got too dull. And I don't want to get up and sharpen it and leave you guys hanging. So there is the ball. Now, if you don't like the dark area, you don't think it's dark enough, or there's something that needs to be fixed, at this point you can go in and just do a little bit of just shading like that, just blending it with lines. Works really well. You scumble first and then you blend with some lines. Okay. I'm still not taking my finger and just like rubbing it because, again, all the reasons I told you before. Okay. Notice you still see pencil marks. That's okay. That's what's cool about drawing. It looks really cool. If we wanted to be perfect, we'd have a machine do it. Okay. So I'm going to go up here and blend this top part because I'm not quite happy with it yet. So I'm just very lightly going to do a little bit of shading here. Try to blend that in. Have that light source hit that spot. Make a gradient so it goes from light to dark smoothly. Okay, now I'm going to stop and evaluate. I like to stop and look at my artwork sometimes to evaluate it. Looks pretty good. You can see some of the lines where I go from light to medium. That's okay. I'm just going to blend that just a little bit here. Okay, so now it's time to do the area down here. So you're just going to go with the little overlapping circles, and you're going to fill in the whole thing. Okay, just make this whole area right here dark in that oval shape. And once you're done with that, you'll have yourself what started as a circle and became a sphere. So really cool stuff. So I would like you to create your own sphere using the shading techniques that I showed you, including imagining a light source. You don't have to draw one, but you can if you want to. And having the light go from white paper to very light, and then go out in these arcs, okay, from light to medium dark to very dark. Knowing that a pencil won't get super, super dark. Okay, that's all right. And then imagine and draw a shadow of the ball below it. Okay, Don't forget to include just a little bit of white down here at the very bottom of the ball. Okay? So that's what I'm going to have you do. And once you do that, take a picture of your sphere. Try to get it as clear as possible. So get rid of the wobble, and when you take a picture of it and submit it or go ahead and take a picture of it and submit it in Seesaw. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of your spheres, and I will see you this week.